So it's been a while since we've updated Sky Factory 2, and I thought, hey, let's play for a few minutes today. Let's make a couple of upgrades, and let's showcase a couple of things. Mainly, let's look at what's called the Cyclic Assembler. And I'll tell you, here's the recipe for it in Sky Factory 2. Pretty simple. You got a couple of gears, a little reception coil, hardened frame, and a chest. And you don't need the hardened frame. You can go down the recipe down to here, get the 10 gear to make the machine frame, just the basic. You don't need anything like super speedy. You know, you could do like some fancy stuff with it, but I'll show you the application. So we've did this last time, which was the automation of the sieves, right? So you got dust being sieved there, you got gravel being sieved there. On the back hand side, you have sand being sieved, and then you have stone. And I stopped the stone one because we had like 200,000 marble, and I just don't think that we'd ever in this lifetime build something that big with marble. So I went ahead and cut it off, and I can show you if we look up in here, you can see I got rid of a lot of it too. But I have 29,000 marble and 22,000 stone, just in case we need something. I didn't want to like deplete it, right? So that's in there, good enough. This is just a little workstation that I use, you know, kind of coming in hot type thing. I need a little one-off, two-off thing, and I want to be able to do it on my own. I've got this one kind of doing glass, or did at some point. And I'm going to automate the glass process too. That's actually sandstone. And so what I'll do is I'll just throw these in here, and I need these for the solar panels. That's right. So you'll notice here we upgraded the drives. It's 1K bay, 4K bay, 16K bay. The next is to put the 224s at the bottom, and you can see we got nothing but green lights in here, even with all these items in here, right? So you got 85,000 Magnesio, you got 26,000 Certus, 4,000 glowstone. I even got 4,100 cactus seeds, and you can see as you look in here, you'll notice some of the numbers that tick on and off. And we're basically running, let me see if I can find one. So there's glass, 2305. We got it down here, and it's going back in. Here we go, some powdered nickel going off there. So you'll see a nickel ingot come flying through eventually, but see it there, nickel ore sand. And I'll show you why those numbers keep ticking like that. So if you look here on this side, we are smelting everything to do with gravel on this side, and right now we're up to aluminum gravel ore. So if you look in this second cyclic assembler, we are taking a schematic with 4 broken aluminum ore right here and creating the aluminum gravel with it. So basically what's going to happen is it's going to export from, now you got to keep the buses in line with how they relate to the ME system. So if it says export bus, that means it's going to come out of the ME or export out of the ME and into something else. If you do an import, it's going to come out of something and it's going to import it into the ME system. So it helps me to think about it in those terms. So this cyclic assembler is going to come in, take the broken aluminum, use the schematic basically into here and shoot it out of there. It's going to go back into the ME system, and it's going to come back down through here, and I've got a couple capacity cards and an acceleration card, and it's you don't really need the acceleration once you get it going. It stays up fast enough, even with I haven't done any upgrades in these just because they're not needed, but if I had done the octatic capacitor, let's just say, I would have thrown in an acceleration card in here to get things juiced up. So you can see how it's pulling in here and it's taking it to ingots, and then in this import bus is taking it back. So you have here iron, aluminum, copper, tin, and you got all 9 of the ores, the broken ores that you'll get from sieving gravel, basically. So what we did was we took this green setup and moved to blue, and we did the same thing for blue, and we did the crushed iron ore, the stuff that comes out of sand. And then I did the brown here, the stuff that comes out of dust, and you can see the cyclic assemblers kicking on and doing their work over here. The other 2 have been up for a little bit, so they're already kind of made their way through there. But you'll see these kicking on and off and making this and shooting it back into the ME system. Really kind of cool. This is also a great way to look at a smart cable and to understand how the smart cable works, right? So if you look, this cable is connected to these 8 machines, right? Now, we don't need to really think about it in connection to the machines, but connected to the devices that are here. And so we've got import buses here, and here, and here, and there's 8 of them, right? So if you look at the very bottom on the cable, you'll see the white lights, which means 6 or 5, 6, 7, and 8. If it was just like this, that's the brown, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course the top level's 2. So you go 2, 4, 6, 8, and that's a full smart cable. If you hooked another something down here down the line to it, it would brown out, one of the machines wouldn't work. And so that's why you see the cables run on both sides, and this has 7, right? So let's count it up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 devices, and it's labeled down here. Now we actually have room. We could put another machine up here and throw another device right there and have 8 and fill the cable up, right? So let's take a look underneath at the spaghetti mess underneath, right? And so what I did was I keep them separate. You see how the green and the blue will not connect. If these two were green, these two cables would be commingling, and then you'd only have 32 channels coming all the way back into here. As it stands now, we can have 64 channels because you got 32 here and 32 here, and you can see how they're marked underneath, right? So really kind of cool when it comes down to the cabling and whatnot. This one's kind of a mess. I could have cabled this a little bit better. I wanted to keep it separate though, and I didn't want them to touch. I could have pulled it up one more line up here, and you can see as I went on, I got better at it, right? So I pulled the blue ones up nice and tight and cabled the power around the other way, whereas this way I cabled the power and then kind of came through and put the cabling underneath there. And then of course the brown line, same thing. We got very efficient with the placement of it. I can come back and fix all that, but honestly, there's plenty of space in here to run more cabling, and that's why I always tell people, look, when you're building, make sure that you have enough room to run cabling and stuff all through the walls, all through the ceiling, through the basement, however you want to do it. I usually give myself about 8 open blocks in there, so I'll make it 10 tall, one with a floor, one with a roof, and then I'll have 8 blocks to move through. And that's just my rule of thumb, because I kind of get crazy with the kind of some of this stuff, and I don't want to run into some cabling mess. So if you sit and look at the at this long enough, and you look at the ores, you'll notice the numbers are changing on their own through the ores here as it's importing, exporting, and the system is taking care of all that on its own. So we're going to go from sieving to production, and then anything that I need as far as ingots now, if I walked in here and typed ingots in, you would see how the ingots are all, and a couple thousand of each ingot, and of course aluminum, which I'm going to start using aluminum to make the solar panels in. So we'll be using, and I've been using a little bit of iron, and I probably should stop taxing that as much. But you can see how anything we need now, you need gold ingots, you need gold nuggets, like we have all that available and ready. Do you need to make a blend? Like I needed to make Electrum and Invar, so I can go in now and grab this and throw this into the sag mill and make the different blends that I need. The next level of this is to take and say, instead of me coming in here and going, okay, solar, and then I wanted to make some solar panels, so I need the mirrors. Let's make some mirrors, and it needs aluminum, which is cool because I need to spin aluminum. Let me make a couple of those, and then see how this is just a manual process now, and I'm making all these items. Come on, trying to dupe myself some stuff there. And you can see I ran out of wood, which I've got plenty, but I need to teach my system how to make all these components on its own. That's right, using the pattern terminals. A lot of the really good, cool functions out of the ME system that can be automating even further for us. So if I wanted to make a tier 4 solar panel, I would just click on the pattern terminal, go in and click on tier 4 and hit it, and then it would start making all the components for me, and I would have to do that myself. Pretty cool, huh? So anyway, the last thing that I did to update, and you can see how we're starting to get a pretty good sprawl here of automation and stuff. So we've got our sieves, we've got our ore processing, and this little ditty back here is for the achievement and the challenge of completely put triple compressed into a whole block into one whole chunk. So that's going to take a long time. So what I did was I just hooked up these igneous extruders. You put a little lava, you put some water in there, some transport pipes, and I like to use the clear ones because I just like to see the items moving. Kind of cool. And again, we're going to use the Cyclic Assembler just because that's the piece of machinery that we're focused on during this. So you'll see the schematic again. It was just 9 pieces to make the one-time compress, and you can see it's coming in here, and every 9 it's going to pop out a unit, and then it's going to send it over here. So over here, as soon as this gets to 9, we made the schematic again, boom, the 9 gets kicked out and it comes to a triple, and then as soon as we get 9 doubles, we're going to make a triple out of there, and we've got 2 triples just kind of hanging out. It should be exporting these, not sure. System gets a little wacky sometimes with so much going on. We'll just kind of help it remember that it's supposed to pull those out, basically. That's what I did here with this import bus, and so we'll kind of see, does that help? Does that help the system recognize? So we're going to 7, 8, and then 9 eventually, right? And then we're going to see if it pulls it out on its own. There we go. And so the import bus should now take this triple compressed and yank it out of there. Bueller. It's just being super slow. Anyway, it will eventually. And then when you come back over here and you put these in, you'll look for triple compressed, if you can spell it right. And we have made 17. Doesn't seem like that's a whole lot. It's going to take us a while to cover. 16 by 16 by however high we have to put that chunk in there, right? So that's just, again, that's something that offline we'll just create, and as one of our daily checklists, we'll come in, we'll pop into the ME system, we'll yank out the triples, we'll head down, and then make that over there. So anyway, have you applied yourself today? That's the question. Applied Energistics 2. I hope you learned a little bit. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments. I'd love to interact with anybody who has questions on Applied Energistics 2. It's my favorite mod. Have a great day. See you.